Hello, I'm Pete Martin. If you would like to see more videos in this series or other videos of mandolin, fiddle, improvisation, and other music subjects, subscribe to my channel. Click the bell icon to be notified of new videos. If you like the video, please click like. Players interested in improvisation should check out two series I'm doing. Improv from Scratch is for non-jazz players who want to learn to improvise or who want to improve their improvisation. Jazz players should check out the Barry Harris for Jazz Mandolin series. Find these by going to petemartin.info, click videos, and scroll down. Bebop scales were improvisation tools used by the great players of the bebop era, people like Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, etc. If you transcribe just about any good bebop solo from one of those players, and also many, many others, you'll hear bits and pieces of these scales being used. Bebop scales are really just normal major scales and modes of the major scale, generally, with an additional note. And what happens when we add that additional note and we play all eighth notes, it makes a chord tone happen on each beat. That sound then sounds like it fits with the rhythm section very nicely. So it's a sound that you know as a player is always going to fit the chord that's happening behind you. So it's very worthwhile to study those. And then we can also use these as a pool of notes when we're improvising, and especially when we want to sound as if we're improvising in a bebop style. All the examples that we're going to look at today come from the book I wrote called Bebop Scales for Mandolin and Violin. You can download that for free. It's a PDF file at www.jazz-mandolin.com, and then just go to the books link and download those. And I would also suggest printing out these examples as we encounter them. And looking at the construction of these bebop scales, I'm going to use the number system. So if you're not familiar with the jazz theory number system, look at the Jazz Mando Tips video, The Number System in Music Theory, and it will give you some idea of what I'm describing here. I'm going to demo the bebop scales, but before we do that, let's find why they work. If I have a G7 chord, the most common scale played against that is G mixolydian, which are the notes G, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Really, they're just the notes of the C major scale, but starting on a G note. So I'm going to play that, which is example 1 from page 6. 4. Now I'm going to play the G dominant bebop scale, the notes G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. This is example 2 from page 7. One, two, three, 4. Listen to the difference of those two. Notice how example 2 really seems to fit against the background chord sound better than example 1 did. The reason is the notes of the G7 chord, G, B, D, and F natural, are played on the beat in example number 2, where some other notes at times are played on the beat in example number 1. And in example number 2, by putting those notes of the chord, of the G7 chord, on the beat, it really does sound like we fit better with the rhythm section. Example 3 on page 8, which I'll put on the screen in a second, shows why this works. The notes G, B, D, and F are now on the beat, as you can see here. Now we're going to look at what we play as a bebop scale against a jazz major chord. A jazz major chord is either a 6th chord or a major 7. We can use both of them. Either of them basically is a jazz major type of sound. The bebop major scale is the notes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sharp 5, 6, 7, and the root again, and 1 again. The notes 1, 3, 5, 6 will happen on the beat. And of course, that's the spelling of a major 6th chord. So if we look at that in C, a C major, a C 6th, or a C major 7, that will put the notes C, D, E, F, G, G sharp, A, B, and C, as you can see here. This is shown in example 4, page 8, which I will now play. Example 4. If you find the information in this video useful, I ask that you consider supporting my channel through my Patreon page, which is www.patreon.com/PeteMartin. For about the price of a cup of coffee, $3 a month, you support the making of videos, instruction articles, transcriptions for fiddle, mandolin, and improvising. Thank you for considering this. In example 4, we put the notes C, E, G, and A on the beat, which is the sound of which are the notes of a C 6th chord. That's why when we play that sound against either a C6 or C major 7, the sound works just fine. Learn all these notes in first position, which is example 9, which is on page 11. One, two, three, four. The next bebop scale we're going to learn is for a dominant chord. So a C dominant 7, or just C7, would have the notes C, E, G, and B flat. This time we're going to use the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, normal 7, and 1. And if we play those all as eighth notes, that puts the notes 1, 3, 5, and flat 7 on the beat. If we do that in the key of C, those will be, the scale will be C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, B natural, and C. So that will put the notes C, E, G, and B flat on the beat. This is shown in example 5 on page 9. Example 5. should learn all these notes in first position, which is example 69 on page 84, which I will play here. One, two, three, four. In jazz, we quite often substitute a minor seventh chord for a dominant seventh chord. The root of the minor seventh chord is a fifth higher than the root of the dominant seventh chord. This kind of sound happens all the time in jazz, and especially in the era of jazz we're talking about, the bebop era. Because it did happen so much, these soloists would not play a different bebop scale against a minor seven chord. They would just play the bebop scale of the dominant chord that was being substituted against. So in other words, if I have a G7, I can substitute a D minor 7 against that for a length of time, then go to G7. But these players like Parker, Gillespie, and etc. would just play the notes of a G dominant bebop scale. So that's one thing to take into account. Now you can construct a minor 7 bebop scale, which is looked at in the book in one of the later chapters. So you can do that if you would like to. But the main sound that was really used in the 40s and 50s was the sound of the dominant 7 that the minor 7 was substituting for. The last bebop scale we'll look at on this video is the minor major bebop scale. This is a tonic minor chord. So if you would see a C minor sixth or a C minor major 7, a minor 6 or a minor major 7 is thought of as a tonic minor chord in this era of jazz. Very rarely will we see a minor 7 chord act as a tonic minor. It's usually minor 6 or minor major 7. And so you should play those chords with each other to kind of hear what I mean, that the minor 6 and minor major 7 have more of a tonic minor sound. The minor 7 has more of a 2-5 sound in a major key. Anyway, this minor major 7 bebop scale, or the minor major bebop scale, as it's quite often called, will have the notes 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, sharp 5, 6, 7, 1. Really all it is the major bebop scale with a flatted third. And actually a straight melodic minor scale, which is quite often used as the home scale in a tonic minor key, is just a major scale with a flat third. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, it's 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. If we put this into the key of C and made a C minor major bebop scale, be the notes C, D, E flat, F, G, G sharp, A, B, C, which would put 1, flat 3, 5, 6 on the beat, or the notes C, E flat, G, A, a C minor 6. Example 6. If you learn this entire scale in first position, it is example 133 on page 159, which I shall play here. 1, 2, 3, 4. After getting used to these bebop scales described earlier in this video, it's my suggestion that you learn to play these in a tune. Take the chord progression of a tune and play the appropriate bebop scale over that particular chord as it appears in the tune. We're going to do this with the Charlie Parker tune Yardbird Suite. The example of this will be example 195, and these are pages 236 and 237 in the book. One, two, three, four. The chord progression itself is shown in example 194 on page 235, but the scales we're going to play as we play them are shown in example 195, pages 236 and 237. I would suggest playing a number of tunes that you play using the bebop scales like we did in Yardbird Suite so that you know where they are. Now, once again, just playing the scales does not make you a jazz improviser, but what it should do is give you an idea of what notes are available to you and use that pool of notes to then play your improvisations. It will definitely help you much more get the idea of playing through chord changes when you know what scales go with those chords. If you have questions or suggestions, please use the comments section below. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, click the bell icon, and click like if you feel so inclined. Also, check out my website and Patreon page, the links to which are on screen. I'm Pete Martin. Thanks for watching.